Toronto has the highest number of active listings we've seen in June in almost a decade. We have massive amounts of inventory building in the market, and we've seen some of the worst sales in years. May was an absolutely abysmal month. June was not any better. So, what we saw in June was a decrease of around 16% in sales, an increase of about 12% in listings, and we now have about 18,000 extra listings on the market. So what does this mean to you and why do you care? Hi there, my name is Marcy Verberg. I'm a realtor here in Toronto. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening with the demand and supply here in the Toronto market. And we're going to talk about whether the media was right in predicting what's going to happen. So as you have probably seen, over the last little while, the media has been predicting that we're going to see a massive increase in the number of sales once we saw that kind of rate change in June, at the beginning of June. The media has also been predicting that people are going to have a fear of missing out and then they're going to start buying homes. Now, this was brought forward by some real estate experts who said that, as we know, there's a big wave coming through of mortgage changes in 2025 and 26, and they think there's going to be a lot of sales. So what a lot of people are saying is we think that they were putting their homes on the market earlier to get ahead of that. However, we don't really have any data to show that that's actually accurate. Now, also, we had thought, I'm not going to say me because I didn't think this would happen. I thought we'd see like a little bit of a change, but I didn't think the 0.25 basis change is going to make a massive impact on the market. And this is true. So the media thought maybe we're going to have a big impact on the market with the 0.25 change in interest rates we saw in June. However, we didn't really see that, but that's not really that surprising. And that's for two reasons. One is it's only a change of about an $80 a month in your mortgage rate. And the second part is that the Bank of Canada actually does not control fixed rate mortgages. That's controlled by the bond market. And in June of this year, the bond yields actually went up and the fixed rate mortgages actually increased rather than decreased. So that actually didn't really help us there. So what you're seeing in the Toronto market is a lot of people continuing to sit on the sidelines, not buying a home quite yet. And you're seeing a lot of people listing their homes. So we're seeing this kind of build up. Now, the media also thought that people psychologically were going to kind of jump into the market, but we're also not seeing that happen. Basically, buyers are still not entirely convinced that they need to buy, whereas some sellers have to sell or have been convinced that it's a good time to sell. Now, there's a couple things that could be happening there. One is, of course, we have natural movement in sales. Now, this is kind of more from the street and less from the data. So this is me out there talking to people in the market and seeing what's actually going on. So what I'm seeing is that people who are seniors, people who are older, it's just time for them to downsize. Maybe they want to sell their big home. They want to move to Florida or something like that. So it's more of a personal decision and timing. Other people, of course, have a family. They would just like a bigger house, so they're doing everything they can. Now, another thing that I'm seeing happen is people leaving the bigger markets like Toronto, like Vancouver, and they're going to smaller towns. So we're seeing some of our people go to Oshawa, Whitby, Brantford, Barrie, places like that, where they can get a lot more house for the amount of money that they have to spend. Now, in terms of the actual prices that we saw this month, the average price in Toronto continues to be pretty high at 1.162 million. Your average detached home is about 1.76 million. Your semi is 1.2 million. Your townhome is 1 million, and your condo is $763,000. Now, all have those, the prices have come down a little bit in Toronto. Now, it's really interesting to think about, okay, what is going to happen in July? Well, honestly, I don't think a whole ton is going to happen in July because we've got a lot of inventory sitting there. So if you are looking for a home, it actually might be a really good time for you to kind of go out and start looking at the price, see what's on the market. However, I just did want to mention that what I'm actually seeing is, in reality, in terms of the prices, okay, we seem to have a gap in that kind of $2 million to $2.5 million house moving. I've seen anything that was basically over $3 million, so say more of the luxury market, those homes are continuing to sell because those people don't seem to be affected by all these changes. People who would have probably been qualifying to buy around 2 million are probably qualifying a lot lower, so say 1.5. So they're going down into buying the houses that are like say $1 to $1.5 million, leaving kind of a gap. So if you kind of look at some homes around, you'll see that homes that are in that kind of $2 million to $2.5 million tend to be sitting a little bit longer on the market. And this could be reflected in the actual inventory level. So I'm just going to show you a chart here. And what you're going to see is the average inventory level in Toronto is about 3 months. Now, if you look at the areas where I spend a lot of time in, so for example, Roncesvalles, Mimico, Etobicoke, those are all sitting just over 3 months of inventory. Surprisingly, the junction is down about 2.2. However, downtown, if you look kind of in those C areas, which is kind of central Toronto, what you're seeing is upwards of 5 months of inventory. So 4.5 to 5 months of inventory in those areas. So definitely building up of inventory downtown. Now, will we get another rate cut in July? Probably not. My guess is they're probably going to hold. However, we'll come back and we'll talk about that a little bit more. I think what you're going to see is kind of July, just things just kind of sitting around and not necessarily moving any faster than they were. Have to say for me, June was actually a pretty good month, but market wise, June was not that great a month.